Hey guys, how are we doing? Back on another video from Any News, and we're continuing with the quick content videos for Tower of God, because yes, it was ages ago, but I still loved it. Catching up, I like to see the changes. I need me some more Tower of God in my life, but let's find out what they changed or cut or moved around in episode 8. This was the hide and seek game. This for me was when everything started to go a bit like, whoa, what is actually going on? Yeah, like a lot of stuff happens in this. He did come across as very clever.
To explain why position battles and team compositions matter. Because of the anime's heavy focus on the plot, many position-defining details were excluded.
Right, and you've done a video on that, haven't you?
To explain why certain events happened the way they did during the test. Like how Quant was able to easily dismantle this team of rookie regulars.
He did just dismantle them, like.
Perceived inexperience as a light bearer was the leading cause of his plan's overall success.
So cool when they did all that.
Let's go through episode 8 and see what exactly
see ya.
But first, today's video is sponsored by Crunchyroll. In case you didn't know, Crunchyroll is what I personally use to watch Tower of God. And it's what I'll be using to watch God of High School and ReZero Season 2 in the summer. So, if you want complete HD ad-free access to any of these new anime, then feel free to use crunchyroll.com/anynews to get a 14-day free trial of Crunchyroll Premium today. And considering that they've partnered with Webtoon, you can definitely expect to see more manhwa-based adaptations from them in the near future. Noblesse is already one of the few to be confirmed. Just like all the other anime and manga on Crunchyroll, these will all be available to stream with professional subtitles on pretty much any device. So go ahead and use crunchyroll.com/anynews or the link in the description to get your 14-day free trial of Crunchyroll Premium today. Now, let's get back to the video. Although the general idea of the hide-and-seek test was explained, there was a few more intricacies to it that made certain game-changing decisions make more sense. But in order to understand
this is where it all started going like, wah!
The way they did, we first need to understand the entire setup to the test itself.
Okay, go on.
In terms of grading, each individual was being assessed by their own position teachers.
Right.
And team performance as a whole was being graded by test director Yu, giving each regular 2 opportunities to gain points. Now, the first key thing to note was that the test area was defined by 3 distinct zones. A safety zone, which is pretty much the starting point for
where they
each
begin,
team.
right.
The seeking zone where Quant can actively hunt the it.
I float around,
and should try to get their it.
The goal.
The thing about this setup, though, is that the regulars can't have their tags stolen while in the safety zone. Quant can't do anything to any member of any team while they're in there.
Oh, okay.
That's an important thing to note.
Oh my god, when this started happening,
That defining the arena. The other key aspect is the badge itself. It's designed with a sensor that immediately stops the test once touched.
Oh.
And if you were lucky enough to be the one to tag Quants, then as an individual you would gain 2,000 points.
Oh, well, okay.
Keep in mind that the team itself wouldn't receive those points.
Oh, just you individually. Okay.
It pretty much guaranteed a passing score. Now, putting all these regulars against a ranker definitely wasn't a fair matchup. Especially if the ranker was able to use their full powers.
Yeah.
That's why Quant's options were very limited from the start.
Yeah, he was like giving it down greedy, wasn't he?
The only thing he could do was produce a single instance of Shinsu. A single bang of
1
10
bang.
This wasn't enough to kill anyone, but it was definitely enough to put some cool skills.
Definitely immobilize people, like boom.
Even with this handicap, though, the odds still seemed pretty stacked.
Handicap, that's the word I wanted to look for, Jesus.
The only comfort that Kun and Shibisu could find came from the fact that Quant looked to be the weakest ranker out of all of them.
Like, appearance-wise, you would think, wouldn't you? It's like, haha, I gotta mess with this guy, but he just...
First, he took leadership of his team. Then he came up with the idea to catch the ranker rather than run away.
Yeah, Kun really came out, like, really clever at this.
Right mind would ever think to compete against a ranker. It truly was an impossible task. But what Kun knew as well was that no ranker would ever expect a regular to challenge them. Especially one like Quant. He was one of those people who had a sort of ego to them.
Definitely egotistical. He's like, I'm going to beat you, ha, try what you want, ha.
Which was the most unexpected, also had the highest chance of success. Quant won't be able to expect an ambush if he literally can't fathom it existing. For someone
if he thinks no one's going to try it, then go for it.
So, Kun believed that using Quant's ego against him would give them a single chance of
and
securing
he
Quant's
was
head.
right.
At least that's how Kun wanted to portray it. He needed to make this plan seem logical enough to convince all the others it was worth trying.
But
and that that's exactly what happened. So, with Shimizu as bait, they sent him out into the dark by himself with a single lighthouse to brighten the path. One thing to note about this arena was that without a lighthouse, everything was in complete
Oh,
darkness.
right, okay. Complete pitch black without him. Damn, okay. So we can't even see what's around him.
Which, if you're still confused as to what this position does, then my video that explains all of them would be super helpful.
I'm going to check that out after I've checked the cut content videos.
That I'll be talking about here. For example, one of the many things we covered was the device known as an observer that Shimizu was shown to be using in this moment. This was a very common tool for a scout to have because their job was to deliver information from behind enemy lines to their light bearer.
Right, okay, of course, yeah.
The observer made this job easier by transmitting visual data to the lighthouse.
That's cool.
So Shimizu was using it as a sort of camera to try and find Quant's position.
Right.
Though Quant wasn't so useless as to not know how to...
Ooh, that looks awesome!
He was able to sneak up on Shimizu.
And then, the drawing's a bit bland from the beginning of this, isn't it? I've heard that it got a lot better as it went on. Really, it's the story that sold this.
Decided to fall for their trap just so that he could show how futile their efforts were. Now, because it was Shimizu who was the bait, Quant decided to showcase to his student just how strong a scout needed to be in order to climb
and then he
the
gets
tower.
in there, doesn't he? And he's like,
First,
you're out of
he
it.
identified the potential number of threats. Then he charged forward to bait out the spear bearer's attack, which opened up a window to take out the lighthouse.
Cool.
Remember, removing the lighthouse not only removed all lights from the battle,
Oh, it would have been pitch black.
disrupted the team's communications. It was practically the same thing as taking out their center of command.
So they wouldn't have been able to see
One of the
anything.
key things that Quant wanted Shimizu to learn. A scout always had to deal with the high possibility of confronting a large number of enemies at the same time. It just came as part of the job of infiltrating into enemy territory.
Makes sense.
So, in the case of ever getting caught, the best option would always be to remove the enemy's eyes.
Oh my god, that
Not only
thing.
does that eliminate the chance of getting hit by the spear bearer's attacks, but it also gives the scout the ability to choose when he wants to engage the enemy. Especially if that scout is well trained enough to be able to read Shinsu in the dark.
Wow.
This is
Okay,
exactly
yeah, that's
what Quant
sick.
did in order to detect where his enemies were, and it allowed him to quickly close the gap between himself and Shimizu. The thing is, this was exactly how Kun expected Quant to react.
Yeah, you're all over it. It's like, aha, you're falling for my trap within a trap.
It takes to become a ranker. That's why he decided to wait for Quant to believe he had the complete upper hand before finally engaging with their second lighthouse. His plan actually would have worked had Quant not used his one instance of Shinsu to activate the technique Blackfish.
Blackfish.
This was an advanced body reinforcement technique typically used by scouts to block out the light of a lighthouse.
Oh, cool.
It removed their ability to see him without actually removing the lighthouse itself.
Whoa.
Normally, a skilled light bearer would be able to counter this by using a reverse technique. But Kun was still very inexperienced.
I was going to say, they're all quite newbie, aren't they?
Currently, he could only use one at a time, or two at max if one was already stationary.
Ah, so you can use multiple.
One thing about this scene was that Anak was using what's called a reel. This is often the fisherman's main weapon of choice. What it does is extend their range of combat by shooting a hook or needle towards the enemy.
Cool.
By attaching the green April to the end of her
Oh!
Anak was able to use Shinsu to freely manipulate the line and attack from a distance. What we saw Anak do was actually one of the main offensive patterns that fishermen tend to use. It mainly consists of establishing control of the high ground, then using the reel to inhibit their opponent's movements. The reason for this isn't so much as to eliminate the opponent themselves, but instead to give the spear bearer more openings to land attacks.
Alright, cool, makes sense. Right, so there's a lot of tacticals in this. I need to check out the positions explained. But like I said, we're going to do the episodes.
Unfortunately, Anak was neither fast nor skilled enough to beat the reaction time of Quant's scout instincts. This made Quant believe that he'd been underestimated.
Right, yeah, falls into his ego,
he didn't really
yeah.
like that very much. Everyone thought that he was going to violently end the test right there. But instead he mercifully
Starts
gave them a
laughing.
second chance.
Yeah, it's like, God,
It wasn't
you
just a
really
100-second
think you can do this?
He actually gave them a full 32 minutes and 13 seconds to try and get to the exit.
Wow, I'll give you 32
Not only
minutes
did
and
it show how
13
big
seconds.
of a
It's very
rate of this
specific.
test was being held in, but it also showed that Quant knew exactly how long it would take for Anak to get near the exit. He made sure to give himself ample time to not only catch Anak at the bridge, but also stop along the way to give all the other regulars a lesson on why he's the best.
Right.
But here's where Kun's
Ego.
genius begins to shine. We already know that the way Team A's test played out was completely in accordance with Kun's plan.
Yes.
However, Lidodo couldn't understand what the big picture was.
What's going on?
What he could see was the absurdity of a regular trying to take on a ranker, especially since that regular was someone who was from the 10 families. On the other hand, Yu was able to see past this, and he found Kun to be taking the test rather well. He knew that the whole logic behind using Quant's ego against him was just stuff that he made up to get his teammates
is good at seeing what's going on in the scenes, isn't he? Behind the scenes and that, like, because he's a sneaky
I
bastard.
think it's worth pointing out, though, that at no point during the webtoon did they make it seem that this was the case. Other than what Yu had said as a hint, we were made to believe that Kun was genuinely trying to pass the test the entire time. It went to make the reveal of his betrayal that much more shocking.
Oh.
Anyway, after about 31 minutes, Kun's team chose to lead Anak to an exit that would force Quant down a narrow passageway. That way they would have 2 opportunities to ambush him. One of these was in the stairwell similar to what we saw.
Wow, that looks pretty good with the colours and the light and that. That looks cool.
The reason that Quant was able to continue to hide in the dark was because he still had his bang active from when he used Blackfish the first time.
Oh.
He never got rid of his first activation of Shinsu. So
he just kept it on.
It to hide his body from the lighthouse once again. This let him walk right into the ambush without getting spotted. The only thing the regulars could do now was just attack at random.
Oh god.
Which really only just made it easier for Quant to pick them off one by one. The scene with Quant fighting Amigo was intended to show just how much a spear bearer would be at a disadvantage if they tried to fight at close range.
Right, yeah.
Scouts typically have the fittest body out of all the positions. So it would be very easy for a scout to take on a light bearer or spare bearer in a one-on-one.
Yeah, because they ain't moving as fast,
when a
right?
light bearer
Yeah.
and spare bearer worked together, well, that's when a scout would be in trouble. If the scout ended up in a position where they were spotted, the spare bearer could combine their power with the light bearer's lighthouse to hit a target from dozens of kilometers away.
Oh, okay.
It was a very deadly combination technique, but that was something far too advanced for any regular to do on the floor of test. Right now, Kun's team was simply getting toyed with. Especially when Quant snuck up behind Shibisu for the second time.
Oh damn.
This whole encounter
Oh, sorry, buddy.
started to
Haha,
turn
rub your shoulders, give you a massage. I'm your friend now.
Shibisu and Anak's relationship. It was after realizing it was impossible to beat Quant to the exit that Anak figured it'd be best just to try and fight him in a more open area. To her, fighting on the bridge would have been a guaranteed loss. At least with a bit more room, she could try and put up a fight. That's when we see Shibisu trying to hold Quant
He's like,
back so that
no,
Anak
desperation
could make it to the
move.
exit. Aside from his weird comments, what Shibisu was trying to do was show Anak that it was okay to rely on other people. You see, Kun had told Shibisu that Anak was hiding something from the rest of them. He didn't know what exactly it was, but he wanted Anak to know that he would be there to help her if he could. It was honestly a pretty wholesome speech, up until he started spewing his garbage again. His words did seem to resonate with Anak.
People that say the nice thing and then keep going, and it's like, okay, I get what you're trying to say. Now I don't want to listen.
Make an opening for First Emperor to use his scorching fist of death.
Yo.
At least by being a minor inconvenience, Shibisu could prevent Quant from using his blackfish technique to hide. It got to the point that Quant was getting rather annoyed by it. The only reason he hadn't killed any of them so far was that he didn't want to be responsible for any of their deaths. Sure, this may have sounded cool to Quant when he was saying it in his head, but saying it out loud just made Lidodo and Yu laugh at him. So, with Quant's patience now running low, he decided to just ignore all the other regulars and head straight to
Just
Anak.
knock them all out.
Based on her
Get out of my way.
position,
I'm
she
better than
needed at least
you.
15 more minutes to make it to the exit. Kun knew that this wouldn't be enough time. He had to think quickly if he was going to come up with a plan to beat him. Though fooling Quant wasn't going to be so easy.
Yep.
There
Seems
were a
to be
couple
very
of
on
things
board.
that made his story seem as if it was a lie. The first was the obvious bait to make him jump off the bridge. The second was the presence of only a single lighthouse.
Ooh.
Quant was aware that Kun was capable of using two
Two.
lighthouses.
Right.
So the presence of only one led him to the conclusion that the other was being used as an object for Anak to stand on. It was a very standard tactic to use the lighthouse as an object. It's what was taught to the light bearers in their classes. That's why Quant was able to figure it out so easily.
Right.
Now, because Quant believed this to be an oversight on Kun's part, he decided to give Kun a lesson on the lighthouses themselves.
But
Aside from being a cube that emits light, gathers information, and transmits commands, the lighthouse itself was a device made from suspendium. A special type of
suspendium.
mineral that floats in Shinsu. The more pure
Because
its
it
ore,
suspends
the more
itself,
buoyant it would
right?
be, and that would
Buoyancy.
result in a higher
Buoyancy.
quality lighthouse. Though the same could be said for pockets and inventories as well. They can float too because they also have suspendium in them.
Right.
And just as you'd expect, the higher percentage of pure suspendium a device has, the more expensive it will be.
Right.
That's why the lighthouses that regulars like Kun possess are often made with such little suspendium that they need to be kept afloat via Shinsu manipulation. What
Oh,
this means
can't
is
float.
that
Right,
lighthouses
jeez.
can only be kept kept afloat within a certain
radius of the person that's controlling it. Right, okay.
Out of that radius,
Whoa,
then their
this
lighthouses
world
will
and
be
its world building, the way
That
things
was the
work, it's like,
basis of
oh.
Quant's reasoning to jump with Kun. He would force Kun out of his radius of control, which would in turn cause Anak to fall alongside.
Oh, so that's what he was
This would then
doing.
give Quant the
Okay, that
opportunity
makes
to grab her
sense.
tag. But here's where a significant change was made to the anime. One that sort of diminished the level of planning that Kun put into this. Using his bag, Kun was able to hide that he'd been secretly hanging on to the other lighthouse the entire time. Now, how he did that was what's important. Kun was using a high-quality item known as a pulley. Just like his bag, it was something that he stole from his father's personal treasury. An item supposed to be used by rankers because the pulley was made from pure suspendium. Because of this, it allowed for it to be easily set up and manipulated within Kun's field of Shinsu control. The pulley's rope could also be extended in either direction at the user's discretion. So, well before Quant had arrived, Kun tied one end of the rope to his bag and the other end to his lighthouse.
Oh.
He then kept both the rope and the pulley in invisible mode and waited for Quant to jump. So, it wasn't something as simple as Anak using her green April.
Right, okay, wow, there was more to it.
Just so
Okay.
this item doesn't seem too random, we've actually seen it used once before. Back when Bam had to tempt Endorsi by dangling food in front of her.
Oh, okay, right, but again, in the original subtitle, right, okay, so it's shown, so we didn't come out of nowhere. But because they didn't use it with the anime, they couldn't just throw it out of nowhere, I guess. Interesting. Must be one of those things, we didn't use it, so we can't use it again.
Well, everyone except for the Lightbearer who performed exceptionally well. Though Lidido wasn't so sure whether to give him a good grade or not. Unlike the other rankers, Lidido was the only one to see that Kun helped Quant get back on the bridge. Surely this betrayal of his team was something that warranted a deduction of his points. Yet, he still couldn't easily dismiss the fact that Kun's prowess as a Lightbearer was extraordinary.
Yes, he's very promising.
That's why he had to point out that Kun didn't betray his team at all. He just made the rather shocking choice to put his own journey on the line in exchange for helping others. The thing is, Kun should know very well that climbing the tower requires sacrifice. It's an unavoidable truth that you're going to have to leave behind your heaviest burdens. If that was the case, then why was it that Kun made the choice to keep one of them? It just didn't make sense. Out of all the things that Kun's plan was, you found it most of all to be arrogant, and it seemed to bother him in a way that Lidido couldn't quite understand. But that's pretty much the majority of Episode 8.
Right.
Next week we'll cover the second test as we get into Episode 9.
Oh.
And if you still happen to be confused as to what the positions are and what they do, then be sure to check out my last video which went through all of them. Now, before I go, I'd like to thank Crunchyroll once again for sponsoring this video.
Pretty decent, yeah, sponsorship. That was 6. So there's 9, there's 10. I don't think he's done 11, but he's done the last episode, which is cool. I'm sticking with him, doing these. We'll do the positions explained. Ciao. And then, yeah, because I get that, like, probably you guys aren't going to be watching these now because it's pretty dated, but I'm playing catch-up, and I really like these cut content things, and I like it, so I'm going to upload it. It's my channel. Do what I want. Don't tell me what to do. Ha! So anyway, thank you guys very much for watching. What do you guys think of that? What do you guys think of this? Click like, subscribe if you haven't already. Leave comments down below. Let me know what you're watching and discuss in future videos. And also you guys. It's all you guys. Need them.